Number 10, Helldivers 2. A cooperative third-person shooter from Arrowhead Game Studios broke records and servers. A sequel to the 2015 top-down shooter, Helldivers 2 became PlayStation's fastest-selling title of all time, and within a week of its February release, the servers couldn't handle all of the new players. Gamers play as a shock trooper called a Helldiver and are sent on increasingly difficult operations to collect better weapons, better gear, and more in-game currency to purchase it, so they can defeat a quickly growing number of tougher and tougher enemies. Available on PlayStation 5 and Windows. Number 9. LEGO Horizon Adventures. LEGO Horizon Adventures retells the story of Horizon Zero Dawn, 2017, with all the humor and pop culture references that have made the LEGO Star Wars games such a hit across generations. Outside of games developed exclusively for Nintendo, the last decade has seen a dearth of games made for younger players, making LEGO games a consistent go-to for players of all ages. But there's also something appealing about the gameplay of tier-rated titles, and from first-hand experience, Horizon, with its lush world, robot animals, and Aloy's archery skills, has always had a particular draw. Available on PlayStation 5, Nintendo Switch, and Windows. Number 8. Star Wars Outlaws. Massive Entertainment and Ubisoft take gamers to the seedy underside of the galaxy far, far away, where they play as Kayvess, a thief and scoundrel with a heart of pyrite who is looking to escape the Outer Rim and start a new life on one of the core worlds. Set between the events of The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, Star Wars Outlaws is a third-person action-adventure game featuring shootouts, heists, lockpicking, speeder races, gambling, and double crosses. Available on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X/S, and Windows. Number 7. Black Myth: Wukong. Black Myth: Wukong is inspired by Wu Qing'en's novel Journey to the West. Gamers play as the Destined One, an anthropomorphic monkey believed to be a reincarnation of Sun Wukong, the Monkey King, as he travels to the mountains to fulfill his destiny, facing a myriad of Chinese spirits and mythological beings along the way. The game undoubtedly has the best art design of the year, filled with gorgeous, detailed scenes of forests, temples, and mountains. Available on PlayStation 5 and Windows. Number 6. Alan Wake 2: Night Springs and the Lake House. Alan Wake 2 returned with more mysteries to solve this year, with 2 expansions, Night Springs and the Lake House, totaling around 4 hours of new gameplay. Remedy Entertainment's first DLC release, Night Springs, contains 3 self-contained episodic narratives that exist within the fictional Twilight Zone-inspired series, Night Springs, and features parallels of the familiar characters we met in Alan Wake 2 as they traverse their private nightmares, which become increasingly surreal and meta. The second DLC, The Lake House, continues to thread the connection between Alan Wake and Remedy's other franchise, Control. In this installment, players take control of the FBC, Federal Bureau of Control, agent Kiran Estevez, as she explores the FBC site, the Lake House, and finds horrors within, along with clues and emails that lead her towards a volatile shape-shifting entity. Available on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X/S, and Windows. Number 5. Neva. The game follows a young woman, Alba, who travels with her wolf companion, Neva, over 4 seasons across a fantasy land where they fight off a growing darkness that has manifested in the form of monstrous creatures. As the player progresses through each season, Neva grows from cub to adult wolf, which changes the pair's dynamic and their emotional bond matures. The game is dialogue-free, and the only words come from Alba saying, Neva. Available on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X/S, Nintendo Switch, macOS, and Windows. Number 4. Silent Hill 2. Silent Hill 2 faced an uphill battle since its announcement in 2022. Not only was the cancelled Silent Hills game, announced through the playable teaser game PT in 2014, said to be directed by Hideo Kojima and Guillermo del Toro, still a sore point with fans, but many did not believe that developers, Bloober Team, would be able to pull off such a feat as remaking one of the greatest horror games. And yet, Silent Hill 2 was one of the year's biggest surprises, managing to stay true to the same haunting atmosphere of the original while updating the gameplay for a generation of horror gamers more familiar with the current Resident Evil remakes and contemporary entries than the fixed camera of Silent Hill's past iterations. While the overall narrative of the original game, in which James Sunderland returns to Silent Hill after receiving a letter from his deceased wife, Mary, who tells him she's waiting there, remains largely the same, this one adds new wrinkles and locations to create an entirely different experience. No matter how many times a player has trod through the foggy streets of Silent Hill, the town is never anything less than unnerving. Available on PlayStation 5 and Windows. Number 3. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. The second installment of Square Enix's ambitious three-part remake of Final Fantasy VII immediately follows Final Fantasy VII Remake 2020 and picks up with Cloud Strife and the eco-terrorist group Avalanche as they take on Shinra Power Company that's draining the planet's life energy. But Shinra has an ace up their sleeve. Their Solidar Sephiroth, long thought dead, is alive and intent on achieving godhood. Much like Remake and the '97 original, there's a lot of lore involved in the narrative, and while the combat is fast-paced and responsive in a nice switch-up from command inputs of the original game, Rebirth does require patience. Newcomers to the franchise may be surprised by the number of cutscenes and dialogue-heavy encounters, but they all serve to make the world richer. The benefit of splitting a single narrative into a trilogy allows for a greater depth of character and emotional connection. As fun as it is to take on enemies with Cloud's Buster Swords, some of the best moments are found in the interactions shared with companions, which are rewarding for newcomers and fans of the original alike. One of the added features of Rebirth compared to Remake is an expanded open world, allowing for a lot more side quests and interactions. Available on PlayStation 5. Number 2. Astro Bot. The most fun gaming experience of the year is Astro Bot. Team Asobi puts PlayStation's mascot, Astro Bot, who gamers could previously play as an Astro Bot Rescue Mission 2018 and Astro's Playroom 2020, into a full-length game. Making use of all the PS5 controller has to offer in terms of movement, dexterity, and sound. Astro Bot from world to rescue bots from his crashed ship in 4 different galaxies and 90 planets that offer different and increasingly difficult experiences and a variety of terrains and enemy types. A number of these worlds are inspired by classic video games and iconic PlayStation titles like Uncharted, God of War, and Horizon, with plenty of Easter eggs and nods to PlayStation's history scattered across the worlds. In the spirit of games like Sonic the Hedgehog and Spyro the Dragon, this one has a pure sense of fun, and the story exists merely to give a sense of structure to the play. Available on PlayStation 5. Number 1 and of course game of the year is Dragon Age: The Veilguard. First, hats off to what has to be the most advanced character creation system ever brought to video games. It's possible to spend hours just fine-tuning the look of your character, as everything from bone structure to tissue placement is considered from every angle. The character creator is also fully inclusive, not only in terms of race, but also gender in its inclusion of non-binary pronouns and flexibility with physical characteristics like hairstyles. Before the game even begins, there's an effort to make the Veilguard feel personal and truly put the gamer behind the character. Narratively, the game takes place a decade after the events of Inquisition and immediately follows up on the post-credit scene of that game, which sees former companion Solas revealed as the elven god of betrayal, attempt to tear down the Veil, a magical barrier that separates mortals from the demon realm. The action begins quickly, and players familiar with the franchise will quickly find themselves impressed by the combat and traversal features, which are best seen in the Dragon Age games. The same goes for the impressive details that create a sense of awe and feel visually distinct in an era where gamers have their pick of visually impressive fantasy games. But this is BioWare, of course, and the real treat is in the journey, which is nothing without the bonds formed with your companions. Of the 6 available companions, each offers a unique skill set and personality, and unlike previous games in the series, going for the seemingly agreeable response in the dialogue trees won't always grant players the response they wish. There is greater attention to character traits here, which makes the connections all the more exciting because it isn't simply a game of playing nice. Additionally, the portals are a welcome travel feature, as is the ability to access companions' special power sets from an open menu. While some may miss the more politically charged narrative of its predecessor, the Veilguard feels like a refreshing addition to the series that's still heavy on lore, but doesn't feel too dense to distract from the pure pleasure of killing demons. If there's a single word to describe Dragon Age, the Veilguard that signifies its place as Game of the Year. Thanks for watching.